What's up, communities? Your boy Checo, and today we're starting a new podcast. And today we have David Favela from Border X. If you guys go back a few episodes, I think he's episode number, is it 3? 5. Yeah, that's right. You're episode 5, and we documented his story. And today we're just here to discuss updates on what's been going on. You know, we've been going through this COVID-19 pandemic. But it's been really motivating watching them keep hustling. Border X, the brand, is still it's growing. They're even adding more flavors into the mix now. Their products are increasing, but he's also working on different projects as well. And I remember you reached out to us a few weeks ago, and something that caught my eye was talking about that Stanford University Latino Executive Program, right?
That's right.
And we'll be discussing that today. But first, we just want to say, what's up, man? How's it going?
Oh, man, it's going better.
Yeah.
You know, the last 2.5 months have been kind of insane. You know, the pandemic, completely surreal. Whoever would have thought we'd be shutting down the economy? And then the tragedy of the murder of George Floyd and everything that's come after that has just been heartbreaking. And so we're all just trying to navigate these waters. These are new to us, and just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Talk to us, man. Where were you when you heard you had to close down your businesses?
I think I was here in Bell when I first got wind of that. And I think it was like a Friday. There were some whispers of it. And then we're like, oh, really? Is that even a possibility? And I think we let Saturday go. It's like, okay, let's keep doing our thing Saturday. And then by Sunday, we kind of knew what was up, because there was no official letter until the last minute. Yeah. And we took it seriously. We shut down on Monday, and we didn't open for, like 2.5 months.
Wow.
We did pivot. You know, we still have to hustle and make some money, pay the bills, pay our employees. You know, we try to take care of them as well. And so we created a website within 2 weeks. We started doing a delivery service, and it was... it generated, enough money to kind of keep the lights on, but hey, you just got to hustle, man. And those were really tough days. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the employees we had to lay off just because without revenue, I can't afford the payroll. It's just impossible. Like a lot of companies, I think, are in the same boat. And I knew that unemployment was at least going to be a solid source. When the stimulus bill came through, then I knew that they were going to be okay.
You were able to receive it? You received one?
Well, we received one, but
awesome.
The employees, all of my employees received, or the majority received, the stimulus check, which took unemployment from being barely livable to we can actually survive off of this for most people, not everybody.
Yeah, well, that happened with me too. I mean, the extra $600 worked a lot. It's worked fantastic for me right now. I know, and I know it's ending here in July, so we'll see what goes on. But I was moved part-time at my job too.
Yeah.
Only working like 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
But that's something I really want to discuss, because I think that innovation is really important, especially now. A lot of individuals started businesses in this new decade, right? And it was because of the economic boom, and also because of the internet.
Yeah.
And but a lot of influencers that I've seen, and a lot of people that started businesses were just spending money, and not really saving it for the rainy day. And their elders were telling them, listen, we remember the 2008, you remember the economic crash. We remember, I was in high school. I was barely graduating high school. Remember, gas was like $6 a gallon. Yeah. So I remember those days. But innovation is an important trait that we need to have in our businesses or in our projects and whatever we're doing. So talk to me about a little bit of the innovation that you did with Border X. You said you started in a week. You were done making a website, right?
Yeah.
And you put that plan together. But how'd you do it? How did you come up with the idea of coming up with a plan to execute? To innovate?
Well, the first week was just shock. We were just like, okay, is this going to be over within a few days? I mean, it takes a little while to process the information, because there wasn't a whole lot coming out. It was just like, shut down. We got this pandemic. We don't know how serious it is. It could be terrible. It could be a flu. We just didn't know. And I think it was the right thing. I'm not criticizing the government. I think we need to take, drastic action. But probably by the second week, I realized, this is going to go on for a while. And I'm not just going to sit here. My wife and I, she's a hustler too. We're not just going to sit at home. We had to do something. So I took stock. And I think that's probably the first step you have to do, is take stock of where are you? What do you have? What assets do you have? How can you put them together in a way that can allow you to survive in the new game, right? The rules of the game's changed completely. We built a business model about creating community and bringing people together. And now it's like, no, you can't do that anymore. And it's like, damn.
Yeah.
I almost had it dialed in.
Yeah.
And we had to come up and switch gears. And, we did. And we tried the delivery route, which worked out pretty well. It was interesting because we were trying to think of how do we make it work, because we couldn't sell $20, deliveries of beer. It's really cost prohibitive. We said, you know what? People love our brand. They love our beer. They love our business. Let's bundle things, So we started bundling T-shirts and hats. And my wife even came up with what we call the Saneación package, which was this really cool, unique T-shirt with an Aztec god of, medicine. And combined with some of our beers and stickers and all kinds of stuff. And people loved it. And, it seems pretty trivial in these times, putting something like that together. But I got to tell you, mental health is not a trivial issue. And people look forward. I mean, I got to tell you, I drove here in Bell in Southeast LA. I drove in San Diego. I personally delivered a lot of these beers. And people were happy to see us. There was like a connection. There was like a happier time that we were bringing them in a box. And good. I think people really needed that. So that was one of the areas where we not only innovated with the website, but we innovated with the product. How do we bundle it? How do we create an experience? How do we have fun with it?
That's good because that means you're branding it well also. I mean, if someone's looking forward to your product, that means you've done a great job branding it because they've made a connection, a personal connection with the brand.
Totally.
Which is important. So talk to me about branding. Like, how do you take branding? How do you approach it?
I think branding has to be meaningful at the end of the day. It has to stand for something. I heard someone describe it as a promise, of an experience, of a product quality, of whatever. You buy something because you expect a certain quality. I say an iPhone or Apple. Okay, you have a certain set of expectations and they need to be met by Apple or else you're going to be disappointed. And so, what does Border X stand for? And we thought, it really, we boil it down to craft. We're going to do things really, really well in a unique way that combines our cultures. And, you can't find that anywhere else. No one's doing the kinds of things that we're doing. You do that with artwork. So the T-shirt, the things, hats, different gear, makes people happy. And that's a promise of our brand. People know there's a look and feel to the Border X stuff. We try to be a little edgy, but same thing, fusing cultures. And it's about community. It's about trying to bring people together. And I'll tell you one thing that I didn't quite deliver on, but I'm still gonna try, is we started working with a company in Texas to create a Loteria app.
Oh, okay. All right.
And the whole idea behind it was we wanted to create, because we did Loteria in San Diego, and people love it. It's a way of, again, bringing people together.
Well, it's a cultural reference, too.
It's a cultural reference. People grew up with it. They want to share that tradition with
communal.
Their kids. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And so we thought, if people can't come to Border X and play, maybe we could create an experience where they could be at home playing.
Yeah.
And so that's still in the works. It hasn't been launched yet, but when it is, I think it's going to be really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome because now you're looking towards technology. Now you're looking to expand the brick and mortar business into something else. And I think that's really innovative too, especially in the when it comes to crafting beer, and just in the beer in general, in this world, it's so brick and mortar centric, right? And so you're changing the game in that sense too, because maybe you can start delivering now. What are the laws on mailing beer? Can you ship it?
Yes, you can. In California, we can ship with our license.
Yeah.
If we wanted to ship to other states, you'd have to have a license in that state to be able to ship there. But no, we're looking at partners. You can ship. A lot of breweries have kind of figured out that game and are starting to move in that direction because, while what's called on-premise, which is just means people drinking here, dropped to nearly zero.
Right.
The can and delivery sales just skyrocketed because, of course, people, are they want their beer and they want to enjoy it.
That's supply and demand. We have the technology now. We have the 18-wheelers with refrigerators in the back. We can keep it cool. You can send it. You have the packages that can keep it cool. Some of these airplanes now that deliver, I know FedEx has those, and I think even Amazon's worked on refrigerated airplanes now. So the technology is there. It's just the innovation and the vision for it too.
Totally.
But I'm pretty excited for that. Now talk to me about the Stanford thing. Talk to me about this executive program.
Yeah. So as if dealing with a pandemic and dealing with the riots wasn't enough, and trying to open up the 2 breweries, it also so happens that I was accepted into the Stanford Latino Action Business Network. And the goal of that, it's been in existence now, I think nearly a decade. And so they've had multiple people go through, about 100 students. But these students are entrepreneurs that have started companies. They're Latino number one. Their businesses are at least $1 million, and that they plan on scaling, growing that business. And a lot of people might say, well, why does that matter? Who cares if Latino entrepreneurs are scaling or not? And it matters a lot. It matters a lot because as we become a larger part of the population in the U.S., which we are, we need to move and start businesses that are larger in order for not only to help our community, but also to help the entire U.S. because the U.S. economy depends not just on small businesses, but small, medium, and large. And so the goal of this program is what is missing from these Latinos that's going to help them scale to grow businesses that are 50, 100, $500 million. And so they bring all the resources at Stanford Business School, some of the most renowned professors who are giving us lectures and lessons and feedback. I have a mentor assigned to me who's a Silicon Valley legend, Latino, who started up a lot of really successful businesses. So we're going through all these classes online because, before they would go to Stanford. In this case, we're having to do it online. But, at the end of this, as we've built our business plans, as we thought about capital, as we thought about, all that, they actually arrange meetings with banks in case we need loans so we can do our pitch and have meetings, not with a loan officer, but with like an executive in that bank. And then they also set up meetings with equity investors who want to actually put money. And many of them are Latinos. So we're really just trying to create a network of Latinos who are, coming up and trying to figure out, how do we serve our communities and how do we scale our businesses to create jobs and security for more. And I think that's vital. I mean, I think our community doesn't quite understand that. But, the only way you would deal with some of these racial inequalities is if we have a bigger stake in the game. Yeah. And it's an indirect route, but it's perhaps one of the most powerful routes to.
I made a post just recently about that. I was thinking about when Nipsey Hussle used to talk about the biggest way for us to battle against systemic racism is by us stepping in, filling in those voids, right? Or filling in those positions. And how do you do that? You have to do that from a position of power. There's no other way. There is absolutely no other way.
Yeah.
We can do the things outside. We can manifest ourselves. We can go outside. That's fantastic. And we can do that. And we've been doing that.
Yeah.
I know when I was younger, I was really radical when it came to this stuff too.
Yeah.
And I was really into the protesting. But then I started finding out that it's just like a trend. They'll listen to you for maybe a month or two, maybe half a year or a year. But then everyone goes back to the same old thing. They're back to their routines and they forget about what happened.
Yeah. And
it happens. And then there's another outrage. And then everyone remembers and they go do the same. The way we change this is by us filling in those positions. And that's always been my idea of, okay, how do we come up with a system? The project here is coming up. But that's been my problem, is coming up with capital. Because I need capital. I have the vision. I just need capital because I need a place where I can build the media part of it, but also I want to do outreach. Yeah. I want to be able to provide. If someone wants to learn how to screen print a shirt, I want to be able to have a section in the big building that I'll have because that's my vision of where we can teach kids how to screen print.
Yeah.
If someone wants to learn media, we'll have a section where it's media. If someone wants to run into politics, we'll have a section where they can come and meet with their individuals. They can come and meet with the community and talk about their ideas and how they can run for office. Yeah. These are the things we need to do. We need to be in positions of power. We can't rely on individuals who are not part of our community to come and talk to us about our communities. That's the situation that's what festers in me too, is we as a collective need to understand that we need people coming out of our own districts, out of our own communities, running for office, starting a business, but how to increase it. Because you're not only starting a business for yourself, but you're also providing jobs for someone else.
Absolutely.
It could be part-time jobs. It could be full-time jobs. You're still providing that for someone else. I want to be able to provide scholarships for individuals to go to school, because I know what it is to go to school. I know what it is to work and go to school. I know what it is to be running on 4 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep, or maybe no sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
I know what it is to survive on $20 for a whole week because you haven't been paid yet. I still remember those days. So, okay, how do we mitigate that situation? How can we help someone buy books at least? Because I know in some situations for me, it was hard to buy books.
Yeah.
You know, FAFSA covered classes, but didn't cover the books. And some books were ridiculously expensive.
Oh,
So like, I want to create these programs, the nonprofit side of the Saborez project. And I already have the idea, but we just need the capital.
Yeah.
And then once we get that, we start moving into the positions of power. And then once you're in the position of power, then you start creating change. You start advocating for it on the inside, not on the outside.
Yeah.
But you're in the inside. Now they have no other way but to listen to you. They have no other reason why not to listen to you. You're in there already.
Yeah.
And we play this by their game.
Yeah.
We have to play it by their game because it's the only way. That's the only way. That's the only way the system knows.
Well, I would just modify that slightly. It's one of many ways that we have to execute. I have great respect for the protest, but if it starts and ends there, then we failed. Because you're right. There's a seasonality to it. I was watching some videos just this morning, and I almost mistook one commentator for commenting on something that happened in the streets and police violence. But no, it was the one from like 5 years ago.
Dude.
You know, it was just like, oh, damn.
But see what I'm saying? Like, it becomes a trend for a minute, but then it stops. And then, so this is what Nipsey used to talk about. It's infiltrating this situation. Not infiltrate, but like, play by their game.
In a way, yeah.
He bobbed at the block.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy story. They try to they kick him out from in front of the parking lot area where they were selling clothes. They didn't want them hustling there. Then he's like, okay, his brother Sam and him and other homies are like, you know what? We're gonna have to go in there, right? So they rented a place out. They leased it out. And I know many times they probably try to kick, it's in the documentary. They try to kick him out of there. Eventually, him and David Gross end up buying the whole block, that whole corner. So now he owns it and people are paying him rent. He started off from paying no rent in the front, right? For them kicking him out, police harassing him, to now paying rent inside, to now owning the building and having paid rent to him, building the equity.
That's the journey.
That's the journey.
That's the journey.
That's the journey that needs to happen amongst all these small businesses and projects. It can't just be, let me raise this capital and let them blow it on a Lamborghini. Yeah. Let me go on these field trips. Let me go on, like I call them field trips, dude. They're not even, because they're traveling, but they're trying to flaunt the money. And this is a thought that I've always had, and I want to see what you think about it, about this thought. It's kind of taking it back to when the dollar used to be worth gold. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you read it in history.
Yeah, it was backed by the gold.
And it used to, instead of being a petrodollar, it was a gold standard, right? How do we back up? How does Border X, for example, let's say I'm David, and what happened right now with the COVID-19 has brought to me the attention of how vulnerable. I have
vulnerable.
Trouble.
Yeah,
I am with that with a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
How do I back up? How do I invest the profits that I make on my business and invest it into gold? So my business, when I sell it, if I one day decide to sell it, is not only going to be worth the brand name, but it's also backed up by something else that's worth something also, by gold. So for example, something that can impede us from having to lay off individuals. How do we invest the equity on the business into something else to back it up and be able to pay people?
I think the topic you're hitting on, which is really, really relevant, folks, is resiliency. Mm-hmm. How do you create businesses that can bounce back, that can survive the things that are going to come at it? And, the thing about our community, and I'll share my story, but my story is not unique. Mm-hmm. It is the Latino entrepreneurial story. It can be someone who's cutting lawns, someone selling tamales, whatever. You put together your money and you risk it all. And you say, okay, I'm going to get that pickup truck that's going to allow me to start cutting lawns. And I'm going to, then all of a sudden something happens and you don't have a cushion.
Yeah.
And that's same situation. We have
Exactly.
a
That's what I'm
tremendous
talking about.
overhead. If I told you how much we paid in rent and just labor alone, forget about beer making, it'd blow your mind. And we can't survive. I mean, I would have to have, I don't know, $150,000, $200,000 in reserves just to kind of withstand this pandemic. It was impossible to do it. Of course, I don't have that kind of money in reserve. But that's the issue, and that's what's got me really worried. Is how's this gonna impact a whole generation of Latino entrepreneurs who have been hustling, who have been betting it all, and who don't have reserves?
Right.
And this could take, we're not out of it yet. I'm seeing a little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, but it could take our community back generations as far as the progress and success. And there'll be a ton of bankruptcies and hurt families. And that's when you start really realizing how important the business and entrepreneurialism is to our country, because it's what allows us to feed our kids. It's what allows us to put a roof over our heads, and allows us to use our God-given skills, talents, and ganas to do something, And I like the idea. It's just, how do you even get to the point where you have that kind of cash to create that kind of standard?
That's always been my thought, is how do you create like a treasury for your business? How do you create this system and that's something that I think that needs to be discussed amongst our community in general.
Yeah.
Just in general, not even our community, but the economy here. Small businesses.
Yeah.
Small businesses make this economy run, whether people like it or not. It's not the corporations. People think it's the corporations. Most of these corporations sign off on taxes, that they don't even pay as much taxes as they bring in revenue.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. It's the small moms and pops places that are in the corner of the street that are bringing in money, tax money.
Yeah.
People need to realize that tax money is also put into the schools.
Yeah.
Right? You pay for the local education system.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at this video where it was talking about the black community and how housing and schools are related to how housing is related to education.
Of course.
How it was redlined, right?
Yeah.
And not only in the black community, but also in our community.
Yeah.
The Chicano community, they've been fighting for our rights for forever. Like, if you are a first generation immigrant who's speaking Spanish right now in LA, you need to thank those Chicanos back in the day, because back in the 50s, that's the reason for those walkouts, was because they weren't allowed to speak Spanish here. People don't know that. You weren't allowed to speak Spanish in LA.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to do it. It was against the law. It was against the law, literally. But people fought for those rights. So we need to continue to do that, but with the local level, when it comes to, again, building a local business. I want to be able to pay for your education to go somewhere, or having to come up with this nonprofit that can pay for your schooling, or at least pay for your books and your housing, right? And also run for local office. I understand that there's a lot of police officers who are Hispanic, but there needs to be more training in that situation too. Because most of the times people are really malinchistas when it comes to dealing with their own community. Because I've seen some of the raza really treat me bad sometimes too here. You know what I'm saying? So we need to have checks and balances, really have checks and balances in that situation. And I know I'm running around, but it all comes back to resiliency and innovation, right?
Yeah.
But it also comes back to, how do we back ourselves up? And that's always a thought. I think that should be part of a long discussion that we should have. How do we come up with revenues that we can put aside for a rainy day?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Because I saw a lot of businesses be affected right now. They were really affected.
It's going to be a lot. I mean, I drove down through Downey 2 days ago. It was all boarded up. Mm-hmm. So they survived the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to open, but they can't open because of what's going on. And it's just it blew my mind. It was surreal. Yeah. And I'm hoping that we get out of this, because, like I said, this is going to hurt our communities.
Yeah.
A lot of those small mom and pops, like I said, they don't have the reserves. They don't have lines of credit. They don't have investors. They don't have. So it's pues ni modo, what do we do? Let's take a loan out on the house, and use that to save the business. So, or if people don't have equity, pues ya ni modo, ¿qué van a hacer? Let's close shop. I dare not speak it. I never questioned saying open somehow, some way, and just trying to zigzag through this to survive. Right. But I was thinking, man, if this shutdown goes on for 6 months, 9 months, and we're done. I mean, I can't keep accruing debt, because I'm not getting forgiven debt. All my landlords are working with me, thank God. But there's an accumulation, and at a certain point, I don't have a, would you call it a back? I have a hole.
like a hole. Yeah.
I have a hole that I just keep digging deeper and
Yeah.
deeper, and even if the business comes back and starts popping, it could be 2
For
or
you to
3
get out of the
years of
debt.
hard
Mhm.
work to get back out of that hole.
And this is like what, 6 years of you working hard?
Oh yeah.
See what I'm saying?
All weekends after work. I was working at Hewlett Packard and working weekends and making this brewery happen. So, and even when I left Hewlett Packard, I was working weekends and after, long days. So it was rough. I mean, I got to tell you, with the pandemic, when that happened, we couldn't bring employees back. So it was me and Carmen. I mean, we would like put in 12, 14-hour days. And we were looking at each other going, man, how long can we keep this up? And it was like, as long as we need to, Ni modo.
We have no
That's how we were
choice.
raised.
Yeah. Yeah, because imagine it's at that level, right? It's at that level. Now think about, I have an aunt who has to clean, she makes her living off cleaning houses.
Yeah.
And her houses were cut down from 5 to 6 to 1.
That's what I'm telling you.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's something that we need to discuss. I was also thinking, I mean, this is out of the topic, dude. This is out of this is too revolutionary in that sense too. But that would just bring me back to my Chicano protesting days back when I was younger. And it's about how do we create this, how they have food storage? They have the food banks.
Yeah.
How do we have a communal bank?
Yeah.
For a rainy day.
So the one thing this crisis really awoke in me is this really deep fundamental question of what society do we live in and what is the role of the government that we live in and what are our values as a society.
Right.
And if you think about it, we're not just a whole bunch of random people thrown together. We form a society, a community, at the national and local level. And I think the government exists to help ensure our happiness and our ability to survive, both from a health perspective. It needs to protect us from pandemics. I mean, there is no other, you can't throw that to the open market. You can't say, okay, companies who can figure this out are going to make a lot of money. They're going to solve the pandemic problem. No, they're not.
Yeah.
It takes a government to figure that out. And so we've had right now in the White House, a guy who's been dismantling the government because they have a fundamental belief that the government can do no good. Mm-hmm. It can only make things harder. And the only thing that works is free markets and capitalism. And believe me, I believe in those things. But man, I tell you, this pandemic opened my eyes even more. And it said, man, your health care, when we keep throwing around this big question of should the government be taking care of your health?
Right.
Should it be something that makes you go bankrupt in case you don't have health insurance and all of a sudden you have a medical emergency? Should it? Yes, it should protect the nation, the military, right? I mean, that's something that you can't throw to the open market. Yeah. But I think there's the question you're raising is what fundamental responsibility does the government have to keep this free market functioning and not allow too many people to drop through the cracks? Because if it does, that free market isn't going to come back for decades. Right. It's going to be the Great Depression. And
it's going to be big corporations.
And, I'm conflicted. I don't like Trump. But the PPP program saved us.
Yeah.
If we hadn't gone to that program, if that money didn't start flowing, I don't know where we'd be right now. And there are a lot of other programs. And I know they've saved a lot of other businesses. So, I don't like the guy. But the role of the government was essential in ensuring and being our backer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was significant. They were our backer.
Yeah, so just like there's a Social Security program, there should be one at the local. I'm of the opinion a little bit opposite of that. I don't think it's the federal government's job. I think it's the local government's job.
That could be too.
Because the thing is that this, we're literally small nations united because every state has literally a president and their White House that runs the local level, right? That runs the state. I think that if the federal government is going to fail to do that, we should have a safety measure or a safety net that the local level is doing that the state local or even the cities are doing that, right? Where there's this I don't know how that would work. I mean, I'll leave that to the statisticians and to people who work with finances, but it's just an idea that we're putting out there, right? It's like how do we create this small there's a food bank, but there's also this bank not only for businesses but for like individuals.
Economic bank.
Because the
Something
EDD only does enough, right?
Yeah.
The EDD, you can see you can say the EDD is that, but they only cover I think 75% on my check or something. See what I'm saying? So for a rainy day, I'm not saying for you to be able to exploit that, but if another pandemic comes, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Or if a pandemic never comes or shows up, eventually it will though, because that's just nature.
Or a natural disaster.
You could use that money for funding a business if
Yeah.
you bring a great business plan. That's another thing too that we want to be able to raise capital for that, right?
Yeah.
It's for bring us your business plan. Okay, is this going to really work? Okay, let's invest into your business.
Yeah.
Providing the equity, providing those loans, right? Or just investing in someone else's business.
Yeah.
And I think that program that you're that you're doing right now is important.
Yeah.
Because you're bringing that knowledge in. And how do we raise capital? Have you raised capital before?
I have.
Have you attacked it? How do you
But
attack
see,
it?
we did something. We didn't get any bank loans. We didn't get any outside investors. But we did this thing called WeFunder.
Okay.
And that's a real interesting exercise. So maybe it's a tool for our community. But it's like GoFundMe.
Okay.
Except the difference is we're not looking for donations.
Okay.
Every dollar you put into our
Okay.
company converts into shares. So you
Okay.
become small owners. So it's kind of like a more of a, investor type platform that, people are expecting to make money on their investment in us. And so, so we raised nearly $200,000 in that program. And I think it's starting to grow, and I think it can be a really valuable tool. A lot of people here in Southeast LA invested. I mean, they saw the vision, and they really wanted to make it happen. We had investors as far as Europe, one in Australia.
What?
And it's crazy. I think people just kind of saw our story, loved what we were doing, and said, you know what, these guys. And it isn't a tremendous amount. The biggest investor was $10,000, and he's in Las Vegas, and that was, a Latino. And
Vegas would be a great spot to take this.
I know they've called us, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But most investments were $500, $2,000, $5,000. A few of those, and one or two at 10,000, and collectively it made a lot of money. Well, not a lot. I say it's a lot, but $200,000 in the brewing industry.
Right. Yeah, of course.
There are pieces of equipment that cost $200,000. So to think you could start a brewery with that here in LA and where we're at, people would laugh me out the door. They're like, but see, that's the hustle. I'm Chicano.
Yeah.
I know how to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put my sweat and love and just make it work, and we did. And I'm very proud of what we've accomplished here. But that's an option for, I think, our community as far as we think about economic development is accessing what are called crowd equity funding.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be $200,000. If that gardener or you were talking about a house cleaner, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe she needs a car. Maybe she needs some marketing. Maybe she needs an accountant. Help her put her business plan together. Yeah. And then do a WeFunder campaign for her. Hey, let's fund this business. Good woman, good family, working her butt off, and it's a solid investment. And imagine we put together $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever the amount is. She's off and running. It's real cash in her pocket to actually do the things she needs to do. You can do it for a lady makes tamales or a gardener. I mean, there's no reason, and it's all coming from the community too. So it's like a really effective mechanism.
Gosh, I feel like sometimes I'm drowning in a cup when it comes to this because I meet a lot of people with talent. Yeah. I wish I had the capital to invest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then see what I'm saying? I wish I had that capital to invest. So, or maybe someone who has a talent who can start a business. Yeah. And this is a great way to start to get capital for that.
Totally.
Because that's something that's limiting us is how do we generate capital? How do we generate capital for this project? We have like I said, we have the visions, but how do we generate capital for it? Yeah. And that's there's a lot of people like us. There's a lot of people like us who don't know how. And then I go to the West Side and people they're accumulating $100 million of just people donating money for their cause, for their business. Yeah. And sometimes you're like, man, how do they do this, dude?
Exactly.
If I had if I had $1 million, I would be able to start something right now when it comes to the media part of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that limits us. So that's something that needs to be said more. And I think the idea of you doing this with Stanford is only going to amplify the message, because now you're going to be able to use your brand and speak about these things. It's not just about beer, but add to the brand and speak about local investments, talk about finances. How do we balance our budgets when it comes to business and personal gain as well, right?
Yeah.
But what's been the hardest what's been the hardest situation besides the COVID-19 that you've been in when you started your business that gave you perspective of what the business world is? Because I know you were an executive already.
Yeah.
But when you were an executive, you were leading a department, right? Or you were leading a region.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
But now when you're in the CEO's shoes, how does that differ?
Well, I got to tell you, I was what I call a corporate entrepreneur in that I was really good at, putting together a vision, a plan, requesting money and making things happen. I think the biggest project I had a $20 million project.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was, signing the POs and making things happen. So I had a huge support network behind me, accounting, finance, all kinds of people just, taking care of everything. I just had to, drive it. And the biggest thing here on my own, even with an MBA, even with 20 years experience in high tech, man, I don't know how to get capital. I mean,
wow. That's a statement, dude.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's something.
I mean, I've heard about it, but it's a whole different world. The way that people talk about investments, the expectations they have that are reasonable, right? If I was to come to you and say, hey, I need, $100,000, okay. For how long? When do I get paid back? What's my interest? What's my, what's my risk? So they have all these questions and different analysis that you have to provide. And I just wasn't prepared, man. So that's why the scaling program is really, I'm diving into a world that I had never been exposed to, which is really understanding, what investors want to see, what kind of paybacks are reasonable, what kind of risks are they concerned about, and how you present yourself and your idea. And, it's just a weird world, One of the other things I heard was, don't just go and, how do you go and just approach people, that have the money, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to my mentor just the other day, and he was like, David, most of these investment discussions aren't like, here's my plan, I need this much money, will you do it or won't you? Or let's negotiate. No, he goes, a lot of the people, and I'm going to take you through it, I'll introduce you. Just tell them your story. Just tell them your story and why you're excited and why you think there's a great opportunity. That's it. And so he's starting to arrange some meetings with me and other people, and hopefully something comes of it.
Oh,
but
it's going to come.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So to me, it's a little intimidating, and I think that's been the hardest thing is really figuring that out.
Level.
Right?
You're at 20 years experience. You have an MBA. You went your story. Go back, guys, to the video that we did with David and listen to his story.
Yeah.
Because this is crazy from not being able to speak English to all of a sudden going to a prestigious university.
Yeah.
And then coming out with one of the biggest companies and being an executive there.
Yeah.
That's motivational, and that's what we should all strive for, right? Not to be you.
No, whatever your field is.
Your own story,
your
but
own.
reach high.
Don't be afraid.
For something else. I remember I was told I was going to be dead or in prison by 18, bro. Like, I was told that by a sub at Gage Middle School. I was told, nah, you guys, your generation, blah, blah. All you guys are gangbanging. You're going to be dead by 18 or in prison. Like that, dude. Like, you guys are probably never going to go to college. And I remember going back to what they told you. Oh, you should be a mechanic.
Yeah.
Like,
you're good with your hands.
You're good with your hands.
Latinos are good with their hands. That's what he told me.
You built something.
Yeah,
but it's not what they thought about.
No, not at all.
And so that's, dude, that kind of takes me back though, because with your experience and with your knowledge,
see, it's not tough, easy, man. Imagine now being within your own community and trying to raise money within your own, who do you know? I mean, so it's very, very tricky, And, the other thing is I look at, I'm not going to mention which brewery, but there was a brewery that started the same time we did. They had just a business plan, a very detailed business plan, a good one, enough to get like $3 or $4 million worth of investment. We didn't even have a business plan. We started with $20,000 worth of investment and a whole lot of ganas. And that brewery in San Diego has been very successful and has expanded. Again, they started at the exact same time as we did. And now they've accessed, tens of millions of dollars to fund their growth and do the things they wanted to do. And it's such a different world. It's such a different mindset. It's like, who did they go to?
Yeah.
How good was that damn business plan?
Yeah.
And then I got a little bit of insight, and it's not to diminish what they did. I still respect it tons because no son pendejos para nada. But they did get a little loan of about $2 million from their dad. So, hey.
Yeah. Hey, listen. If you have the ability to do that, hey, more power to you, man.
Yeah.
More power to you. It doesn't mean that you're cheating. It just means that doesn't mean anything.
No.
But it does make a world of a difference.
It does.
It makes a world of a difference.
So our challenge as a community is how much capital have we accumulated between our neighbors, our friends, our family, who are willing and have disposable cash to invest. And, we're all different, so we all have different families and whatnot. But I don't know how big that is, So we are going to have to figure out how do we partner with people outside of our community, people who do have a heart, who do understand our issues, and who do want to help in the community and fund businesses like this. So, you were talking about a nonprofit. You're going to have to do the same thing, There's no different. So starting a nonprofit is no different than, you got to build your business plan. What services are you going to provide? How are you going to measure success? What communities are you going to serve? Who's going to be on your advisory board? I mean, there's just, hay mucho. And I bet you if you looked hard enough, there's going to be some organization that is coaching people in that whole NGO or a nonprofit area how to start one, how to manage one, how to fund one.
Right.
And you got to reach out. You know, that's what I did with this Stanford thing. I was like, I got wind of it. Y soy bien metiche. And I'm like, okay.
That's good.
I'm going to start finding out what's going on there. And, that's how I got into Princeton. That's how I got into into this program.
That's incredible. And see, I want to speak this into existence. My brother's been talking to me about, and I always forget his name, but he started, I actually want to mention, what's his name? The Hot Cheetos.
Oh, the janitor.
Uh-huh.
He's phenomenal.
¿Cómo se llama? Google it, because I'm going to mention his name.
How about that?
Yeah, so, but I know he's providing that now. I think he's also starting something where it's, or maybe, ¿cómo? Richard Montañez.
Yeah.
Shout out to Richard Montañez.
Oh, big shout out. Because he changed the world, changed the industry.
Changed it for Chicanos too.
Yeah.
And I want to speak it into existence because I want to see if we can get your mind and his mind and various different minds together and talk about that. I'm speaking into existence because I know it can happen. Get us in a room and let's discuss these ideas. And I already have like this idea that I talked to my brother about that's really cultural, especially in the Chicano and Mexican American communities.
Yeah.
That I want to start a show. It's like a once a month or something, or once every 2 months or something. But bring a panel of people and discuss this.
Yeah.
Discuss these things of how do we come up, or maybe he's an investor. How do we connect the Saborez project? Well, one of the things we want to do is grab you if you have a business or an idea, and be able to connect this investor who really wants to give money but doesn't know how, or doesn't know if they give it to this other program and they don't know if that's going to reach the people they really want to reach. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of individuals who are millionaires who want to donate money.
Yeah.
But some of them are afraid of, is that money really going to go to the community I want it to go to?
Yeah, it's going to be wasted.
Why not do it directly now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's the other thing that I wanted to do, is create this thing. And I know we can do it here too, which is like these, and I'm still trying to figure out, but see, now it's going to be difficult with the COVID-19 situation, is how do we throw these networking parties? How do we throw these situations together? See what I'm saying?
It can be done.
And bring these people in together and invest, and you bring your proposal.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll let someone in, 3 people, 4 people that day present their business plan.
Yeah.
And have a panel of people investing, kind of like Shark Tank, right? But the Chicano, Latino way.
Barrio Shark Tank.
Yeah, something like that. But That it's right.
Sounds like a Chappelle
The
show
Chappelle
sketch.
I'm telling you, man. But it's
But
incredible.
no, that's absolutely true. And I know that there's money out there, and there are people out there that believe in this and would be willing to fund it. But to your point, they just don't know how.
just don't know
So
how.
that's your opportunity. I think you got to step up. And like I said, there are courses, there are people. Sign up. They're either free or very inexpensive. And that's the toughest thing is taking advantage of the resources that are already around you.
Right. Yeah. Or the misinformation. That's our base is. Let's fight against missing information doesn't reach the community or doesn't reach this side of the 10 freeways.
Go to
Bringing
USC,
this information
go
forward.
to UCLA. Call people, talk to professors, say this is what I'm trying to do. Can you point me in the right direction? And a lot of people they want to, and they will.
Yeah.
And that's when I say I'm metiche. It's like I don't stop.
No, you gotta
Can't
research.
stop, won't stop.
You gotta be curious about things. Yeah, and that's what makes his run. That curiosity of how do I make myself better.
Of course.
It's always about growing. It's not about stopping. You never stop learning. If you have the mentality, you've never stopped learning.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit. But if you say, "Oh, I already know everything," then you're done.
Yeah.
You're stagnant. You're done.
No, ya no hay por donde salir, Yeah, I mean, if you want new answers, go to new places. Don't keep going to the same old places because you're going to get the same answer, So open up doors or knock them down.
You took a Mexico trip last year?
I
Or was it
did.
this year? Yeah? Where'd you
Earlier
go?
in the year, January, we went to Mexico City.
Okay.
And it was part of our series where we were exploring Mexico flavors.
Okay.
And so Mexico City was the first. We were going to do one every 3 months.
All right.
We were supposed to go to Guadalajara in April.
Yeah, of
And we
course.
had an incredible plan. We were actually taking down the Mujeres Brew Club. So
Okay.
Mujeres Brew Club here in LA. We have in San Diego and here. And I love it. My wife started that up. And the goal was just to bring in Latinas, to appreciate beer, to learn about beer, to create community.
Right.
And they, oh my God, dude.
killed it.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Like there'd be 60, 70 people here for that. And then, we said, well, what if we, for very inexpensively rented like this huge mansion down there in Guadalajara, had like 16 bedrooms. And let's see who wants to go. Maybe someone wants to go. And like 20 of them signed up. And
Wow.
so we were all geared to go down there and
dude.
we were talking to breweries. We were just going to give people a really great experience. And then COVID
This
happened.
happened.
Yeah.
But hey,
But we'll be
yeah,
back. It'll
course.
happen. It'll
Of course.
happen.
Of course. So you're down there. You're taking the like the winery point of view of it, or
No. So Guadalajara is really known for
their
tequila.
No, but I'm saying the brewery now, because it's beer, it's wine, and it's tequila, right?
In
Are
a way.
you taking the approach of like how a winery runs? Is that what you're doing?
No, not really. I think the whole idea behind it is really our inspiration comes from celebrating our culture
Right.
and our roots and our experiences and our flavors. And so these trips are really about, let's go back and explore that. Let's go back and try to find, what does a guanábana taste like?
Okay,
What does, all these different fruits that are
ciruela,
indigenous, ciruela, but from Mexico and only
Yeah,
from
of course.
Mexico. Or what about this spice? Or what about this little village? They're doing this crazy thing with, whatever, that's the whole idea is really explore flavors, explore culture, and build bridges,
Yeah, there's this small pueblo in Michoacán. I think I saw it on one of these independent news outlets where they're still keeping the old the mazorca, the elote,
Yeah?
the black one,
Yeah.
the original one, the
black,
purple one.
Yep.
And now these investors from here are investing in it because they want to keep it going because it was dying. That's the indigenous
Yeah.
elote.
Yeah.
Right? The mazorcas. That was the indigenous one. It's not yellow.
No,
Like
it's
elote is
purple.
not yellow.
Yeah.
Like the original elote is not yellow.
No.
It's purple. And so that's why they have the black tortillas down
Yeah.
south. And so those flavors, right, are the ones that are, because Mexico is so vast. People just think it's
yeah.
like the northern, like the
Tijuana.
or the resort areas.
Yeah.
Like, let me go to the heck no.
Puerto
dude.
Vallarta.
I still think like something in your family's from Durango is like La Sierra Madre Occidental, dude. How much wildlife is in there? Because it's not
tons.
explored like the Grand Canyon is.
No.
Right? It's not as exploited as the Grand Canyon is, right? With tourism. That's literally virgin land.
Yeah.
So you can find animals there. You probably thought went extinct. But see, these are the different aspects of Mexico that people don't know. And it's awesome that you're bringing these flavors in.
Totally.
And you're teaching these flavors, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you go all the way from the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula all the way to Norteños, in Tijuana or Monterrey or the heart in Guadalajara, they're all so different. And the thing that makes Mexico particularly interesting is it has so many microclimates. It has coastal, it has La Sierra, it has arid deserts, and so all kinds of different plants and spices and stuff grows in on these places, and we eat them. And, we love them, and we want to bring back some of those flavors and experiences.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's bringing the sabores of Mexico.
Yeah.
And then just the community in general. Like you said, the climates that exist there is incredible. I go to Sinaloa if I want them. It's like California. It's like a mini California. If I want the Sierra, if I want to go to the mountain, like Big Bear, I go to the Bayahuato and the Sierra. If I want to go to the beach, I'll just go down to Altata, El Tamboro. If I want to see kind of desert landscape, El Tambor.
Yeah.
If I want to see, if I want to be a beach, like a port, or Altata. If I really want the beach, I'll just go down to Mazatlan, right?
Yeah.
And then just those small climates that exist, and that also brings the flavor. And man, I don't know. Is there anything else you would like to discuss that you've been doing, that you've been working on?
No, I think we've done a pretty good job capturing it all.
Yeah.
Feels good to reconnect.
Yeah, man.
I think that's the thing that we miss all the most of, being in this quarantine. It's just the things we took for granted.
Exactly. The small things that we took for granted.
The small things, brother.
And then our communities are so, not to sound redundant, but communal.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about people. It's all about let's be together. Let's do these together. Let's do these things together. You are doing what this local coffee shop is doing. It's called Tierra Mia.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I know 'em.
You're that.
Yeah.
With the beer.
Yeah.
Dude, it's incredible. The amount of different flavors you have.
Mm-hmm.
The way you've been able to mix the different cultural references into those.
Yeah.
And the way you've branded it.
Yeah.
Right? It feels like something that's home. It feels like...
Yeah.
Like, yes, you have these big beer corporations.
Yeah.
But... Yes, you can identify to those, but I think that what you're doing here is more home.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? It feels more local.
Yeah.
And then the way you expand it into the community and how you want to help it out, that adds more gold in my book.
Be real.
To where
be part of your community.
Yeah.
It's always been part of what
What made you with the Chicano activism though? What is it about that? Is it because of the life experiences you lived through?
Just life experiences. I'm very cognizant of my own story and my own luck my family had. The angels that came out of the woodwork and helped my dad, make a living and help him. And I think we just owe it to each other to do whatever we can. I know a lot of people, and I've talked on economic development, working in the barrio. A lot of people said, "Oh, you just own a brewery. What's a brewery going to do?" And you're absolutely right. We're just a brewery. But I think if we can inspire, if we can foster, if we can collaborate with others, I think there's a ton we can do. And yes, we're a brewery. But
in my opinion, you're just not brewery.
Yeah.
Because you're allowing us to come and record this at a space. So you have a space.
Yeah.
You're more than just that. You're also a space. I'm able to come and shoot a podcast with you at a space. It'll cost me. It's cost me more than $200 an hour to rent a space out.
Yeah.
To shoot a podcast.
Yeah.
You offered us your home, and we came and we shot the podcast. You're beyond that. You're offering a space, dude.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And on the same tip, we're talking about. I think you said it earlier. It is creating a space to celebrate people in our own community, like Lalo Alcaraz, and Pulitzer Prize nominated. To influencers like Kim Guerra, Brown Badass Bonita.
I know, I've seen her.
And
I want to interview her.
And it's just like creating. Hopefully, we should keep creating these bridges between our community and invite them into this space. That's really our goal. And honestly, I think if it were just beer, if I, whatever, I love beer. Don't get me wrong, it's my passion, but so is this.
Yeah.
creating these community spaces that I think are much needed. As you drive the blocks and blocks, we're not a bar, we're not a nightclub, we're not a coffee shop, we're not a lot of things, but we're this really interesting thing where you can come together. And I think people initially weren't sure what to make of us because we had a few negative reviews. People were like, "Oh, this is the worst bar ever." And I was like, it's not a bar. This is a place where you're comfortable, where you're welcomed, where you can be with family and friends and celebrate good moments. That's my goal. That's it. Simple.
Fantastic, dude. Right, community. Your boy Checo's checking out. Follow David Favela, and then follow Border X Brewing, Border X Bell also.
Yep.
And check out the products, man. Check out the beer he has. Check out the community he's building. Check out the brand, and just reach out to him.
Yeah,
I'm encouraging people
I'm
to
always
reach out to
available
him, pick
to
his
people.
brain. It's incredible to pick his brain because, like I said, we reference you back to the episode number 5 that we did on season 1. It's incredible what this man has done, and it's incredible. It's really inspiring, dude. And I'm not just to like blow your horn here, man, but it's true. It's like I haven't met a lot of individuals like that, or maybe more individuals need to be known.
Yeah,
and it's exceptional what you've done, and I think that you're like a first step to, like, for example, the staircase.
Yeah.
For more individuals to build upon you. You're right.
Absolutely.
Because it's always about standing on the shoulders of giants here.
Oh, look, it's what I tell people. I'm a child of affirmative action.
Yeah.
I'm standing on the shoulders of a whole generation that helped gain access for us, who opened up doors and enabled me to get into college and do the things that I did, or else I would have been just another statistic, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we all owe it to each other, to the next generations after us, to be that next pillar.
Yeah.
Yep,
I agree.
Órale.
Check it out.
Ándale.
All right, guys.
Gracias, gente.
Peace.